Well, up next, I'm going to invite onto stage the very lovely and indomitable Miss Faith Mangope. She's going to be leading our first plenary session for this morning. And it's going to be about leading in the intelligent age. And trust me when I say that the speakers for this panel are absolutely dynamic, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say. Faith, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies. Okay, you got to be more cheerful than that if we're going to be speaking about technology and advancement in technology. So let me try it once more time. Good afternoon, ladies. Hi, what an absolute honor and an absolute privilege it is to be with you this morning all the way until the afternoon. As said by my wonderful colleague, my name is Faith Mangope, and I do say it is an absolute honor and a privilege to be able to facilitate this very important conversation that we're going to have. Now, as articulated earlier, we would like to keep this session as absolutely interactive as possible. Your voice matters. Your questions count. We want to hear from you. So please do make use once again of Slido. So simply just scan your device onto the QR code, which will be appearing on the screen. And that will then allow you to ask the questions that will be insightful to you as we welcome the speakers as well. So please keep it as interactive as possible. I want as many of your questions to be facilitated through this conversation, as that's what we do. We aim to give you the best insight as possible. Now, ladies and a few gents that I do see in the room, it is my honor and privilege to be taking you through the conversation around leading in the intelligent age. And what we're really going to be exploring as a group and as a collective is exactly, first of all, how the sectors of industry are being transformed by artificial intelligence. And most importantly, how is it that we get to leverage off advanced technologies to achieve gender equality, which is what we want at the end of the day. And it is my absolute honor and privilege to introduce to you our guests who are going to be taking us through this conversation. First up, on my very far left, we've got Ms. Phuthi Mahanyele-Dabengwa, our CEO of Naspers South Africa. Please give her a round of applause. We're joined by Ms. Simphiwe Dludlu, former Banyana captain and assistant coach of the FIFA Women's World Cup. My captain, welcome, welcome, welcome. Ms. Masema Lishilo, communications specialist at ACME, joins us as well. Please give her a round of applause as well. And of course, we are joined by absolute royalty, Queen Langa Matiwane from Amapondomise Kingdom. Give her a round of applause as we get into this conversation. And thank you so much, ladies, to all of you for really agreeing to use your voice for such an important conversation. Marcel, let me start off with you. It was an article that I was actually reading in the Sunday World that you had penned regarding technology and the advancement of technology. And allow me to quote you, please. Okay. Because once you were talking, you were looking at zeroing in on particular insights around satiating the instant gratification of delegating our work to a machine overshadows the fact that we are gradually losing grip on our agency and transferring our skills to the machines that help make our lives easier. As we deplete our minds, AI continues to grow in expertise. And at what point does this interaction verge into laziness? Or worse, a culture shift that demonizes the results of good, honest, hard work? So my question is, are we leading in the intelligent age, or is the intelligent age leading us?
Exactly. That is a loaded question, Faith. There is no doubt that the intelligent age is promising and actually delivering accelerated performance and productivity for those in the workplace. It promises to help us make smarter decisions. And what I found most intriguing is that it somehow wants to help us make better decisions and solve humanity's problems. Now, on the outside, that is all good and well. Who doesn't want to live an easier life? But what is unfortunately happening is what experts are calling a cognitive offloading. And what that means is, in exchange for perfection and ease, we are gradually losing our ability to think critically. And now, if you can't think critically, we can't solve our own problems. It actually reminds me of a quote that I saw on a wall at a university in Pretoria that asks students, why study if you can Google? And if we are to bring it to today's day and age, perhaps the question would read, why study if you can rely on artificial intelligence? And as you know, more and more of our youth are leaning on generative AI to help them solve and get through university. I don't want to go into the detail of why that statement is a problem, but I would like to offer some insights on how we can take back the lead from technology and not necessarily get rid of it, because at some point, like I mentioned in the articles, I would like to find myself living like the Jetsons alongside technology. So it first starts by defying the current individualistic thinking and adopting a more inclusive approach to leadership that leads from compassion, putting people first. And I like what the public protector was saying, that we need to advocate for social justice. And I think how we can start that off is by challenging or channeling our economy to approach a more multidisciplinary and multidimensional approach to education, which drives critical thinking and ultimately produces innovation. If you know, we are currently in the innovative age of creating an economy, not so much in the knowledge-based age. So what I mean by that is we should absolutely continue with the present trajectory of machine and technology learning, but at the same time we need to go back to how we used to do education, which is to have a tactile element to it. Get our children outside, be it in the garden, playing with soil, grass, and whatever the case may be, so that they can stimulate a part of their minds that is cognitively developed to solve problems. And in that way, if we can get that right, then we don't have to worry about a future generation that is wholly reliant on generative AI, but rather uses it as a tool to upskill and to advance what they're trying to do for the humanity they'll find themselves part of.
I just want to build on what you've said, because you just mentioned such critical points. And Ms. Puta, I want to address it and bring it to you with this one, because as we're touching on the notion of skills, we really have to take a bird's eye level as to what does the sector, what does industry look like at present, and bring it home and harness what does South Africa look like at present. You know, we're talking here about artificial intelligence and how we get to leverage, but what we're also not speaking about is how I often say South Africa has got first world ambitions, which unfortunately with the developing country budget. So how then do we start reconciling, and also around the African story becoming a little bit more peculiar, because in developing states, for example, we see that the human workforce is still very much what is leaning towards the progress of states and what is leaning towards the developmental progress. GDP increases as a result of our human capital, but human capital is going to experience a shift as a result of AI and advanced technologies. How do we start reconciling the demands of accelerated technological growth against the realities of developmental states and their objectives?
Yeah. No, thank you very much for that question. And I think it's so important for us, particularly given the fact that we are right now just hosting the G20, right, towards the end of this year. And I'm participating in the B20 of that G20. And the critical issue is the fact that as the task team that is focused on the digital transformation, we're looking at exactly that issue, on ensuring that South Africa, in fact, the African continent, can be a part of the solution as the world is looking at different ways of keeping up with AI. Now, I come from an organization which is an AI-first organization. We operate in 100 countries around the world. We service 2 billion consumers around the world with the use of AI. And the important thing with AI, I think that's really key for us, is just to build on to what you were just saying earlier, that it is not about whether it's machine learning versus human skills. At the end of the day, you must remember that for machines, for AI co-pilots, for any of those to be able to work, they're informed by humans. So all that's required is that we need to be increasing our skills. So in our organization, we have libraries. Whether you're a receptionist or you're a manager, irrespective of your role, everybody's expected to be learning. And it is about us all continuously being focused on skilling. Because if you are going to be a productive member of society in the future, you need to be skilling yourself. And so look at the future skills that we're going to be looking at. And, you know, I often say that when you look at society, some of the members of our society also need to keep up, such as unions, as an example. Unions which represent millions of people around the world, they are looking also at keeping up with this, because in the world of AI, people are working differently. It's no longer about working from 9 to 5. People work when it suits them.
Yeah.
People work when it's convenient. And the beauty about it, about working online, is the fact that people are able to work when it makes sense for them. So when you think about people with young children, they can look at periods of time when it makes sense for them to be able to work. And so digital workers are a big part of, of our society, and certainly in our environment, they're a big part of our society. But the other thing is that, when you look at, for instance, our platforms, all of our platforms are on the back of small and medium-sized enterprises. So whatever business it is that you're running, and many of our entrepreneurs are businesses that came online with us during COVID. And now they've become such big businesses that they've left their full-time jobs and they're focusing on their businesses. And so it is about ensuring that you're skilling yourself and staying up to date with what's happening in the world of AI, because that future skills is the new way in which we are working now and the way in which we'll continue to work. So focus on skilling yourself. That is imperative. So as the B20 Digital Transformation Task Force, we are focused on ensuring that we can make as many young people on the African continent part of this workforce as possible. Because the reality is that if you're not part of it, you'll be completely left behind. We have reimagined all of our businesses. Even a business like Media24, which is 108 years old, is a business that we are reimagining. We're no longer using humans to do tedious tasks, but we're using machine learning to do some of those tedious tasks because it can be done quicker, faster, and more accurately. We're getting our human employees to do even more important work. And it is on the back of them being able to be skilled. If you are willing to learn, irrespective of what age you are, irrespective of whether you can hear, you can see, if you are willing to learn, you will be a part of the world of AI. And so, it really is just about having that ability and willingness to apply yourself to skilling.
As you're mentioning this, it takes me back to a conversation I had with a law firm not so long ago, and they said, Faith, we're doing away with candidate attorneys, we're doing away with paralegals, we don't need them anymore. And we hire them just as a means of maybe having one or two, but we're no longer dependent on them because we've got artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And the big question is, how then do we start reimagining work? Of how do we start reimagining so that we're able to keep up? We no longer need you to be in paralegals and to be filing the big papers. We've got that. What we need right now is for you to become input engineers
100%.
that are going to be speaking exactly to that AI. And it can be very intimidating. And we'll go deeper into that one as well, Ms. Puti. But Queen Lang, I want to bring you in as well around the advancement of gender equality. It's about upskilling, but we also cannot leave apart the gender equality perspective, especially, maybe I should call it the equality of women, getting women to the equaling of the playing field.
Okay, thank you so much, Faith. Before I get into technology advancing gender equality, I would really, really like to highlight the fact that there are some women who do not have access to technology. I'm highlighting this only because I led women in rural areas, and majority of them do not have access to technology. Majority of them, they come from disadvantaged backgrounds, and they are from areas where there's no network connectivity as we speak, as much as it's the 21st century, but you still get areas where there's no network connectivity. which really gives me two opinions on the matter of technology advancing gender equality. Firstly, yes, it can advance, it does advance gender equality. However, with the women that do not have access to technology, it really doesn't make any difference to them. Because they really do not either have cell phones, or they just do not have access to technology in its full form. So it really takes me back to saying we need to look at going back and doing the groundwork as well, and not leave everything to technology, but go back to the groundwork, do awareness campaigns back to our people, for us specifically in the rural areas. I might have access to technology, but most of the women back there don't have access to technology. But I think technology does advance gender equality in terms of we now have access to a lot of information through technology. We now are part of occasions like these through technology. We are part of forums where we get to discuss with other women, to uplift each other, and to discuss matters that really uplift us as women through technology. Yeah.
And as you're saying that, technology has allowed us access to information and exposure that we never would have had otherwise. It just takes me deeper as a woman into saying that we've developed language for experiences that we've had as women that we couldn't name before. And because of tech, we've allowed ourselves to put language to even our own experiences. This is wrong. It's because of tech that has allowed us to have that. And thank you very much for bringing up that point. But Spur, I want to bring it to you then, and building up from exactly what Queen Langa was saying. In the world of advanced technology, 2 years is a long time. You never stay with one innovation for 2 years. Too long. But how does humanity evolve so that we're able to embrace this accelerated change and we don't feel as though we're left behind? Queen Lang was speaking about the women in the rural areas. If 2 years is a long time, what kind of conversations are we going to be having in 2 years' time with them? And how do we have that inclusive growth and leave no woman behind?
I'm laughing at myself because my heart is pounding in my chest. Do I have one? Okay, I do. I needed to see you guys smiling because I'm so nervous. Firstly, technology is the reason why I'm seated here with Dr. Mutsepe saying, find a way to get hold of Simpiwe. And if I didn't put myself out there on socials and all of that, I wasn't going to be sitting here. Now, I tried to think about this question, how will I answer it and all of that, because I have a background of sport where sport is just seen as kick a ball, run, that's it, no technology whatsoever. But the men have soccer boots that can check their weight, can check their height, can check everything with their boots within their soccer boots. But for the women, you seldomly see it. But we must excel in that. Now, I'm taking it to Dr. Mtsepe when she said, we also disadvantage ourselves by not putting ourselves in spaces where we think we belong. So this day, right now, I'm evolving myself. I'm elevating myself to saying, I no longer just belong on the soccer field. I'm here with women that know who they are. Yeah. You know? So to your question, it has a couple of keywords that stood out for me. Are we able to embrace and evolve? So able means we can. Evolve, change over time. Last month, I was weighing 93 kilograms. This morning, I'm weighing 95. I'm evolving over time. Isn't it? There was that bathroom scale that said one leg at a time, you sit and it just goes like that. Now you've got one scale that you go on. It tells you your fat, your water, your metabolism, your height, everything. It's that, right? Now, the next keyword I took was embrace. Embracing means accepting something with enthusiasm. women don't have a choice. Because we want to belong, we want to be seen, especially in AI, we take it with enthusiasm. Whether it suits us or not, we are there, we are within. We take it, right? So now, with all those words, yes, we have the ability to. We are human, we evolve. From where we were to where we are today, this morning, we evolve. Now, each day gives us an opportunity to embrace this. Why am I saying this? I'm a coach in football where you are not given all the necessary resources to say, have heart rate monitors, have this, have that for women in a football team. Now, because I want to compete with a man in that space and be eloquent, be qualified enough, be good to be in that space to help girls qualify for a tournament and all of that. In the olden days, they say, if the girls are sleeping, you need a security to go and knock and check if they are really sleeping in their rooms. But technology now, and I have to embrace it, but I need to learn and know and challenge myself to know about it. Let's get smartwatches. They are only 100, you can get for 500 and all of that. Get all the girls to have this to monitor their sleep. Now we are going into intelligence and technology. Now in monitoring their sleep, I'll ask Simpiwe, how long did you sleep? No, coach, I slept 9 hours, 10 hours of sleep. After 10 hours of sleep. Okay. And that's what they'll tell you. But then I say, okay, bring your watch, bring your phone. It's technology and all of that. Let's open it. Sleep rate monitor, let's see. You slept 2 hours because you're on the phone. Now, technology is telling me that. But if I wasn't a coach that is advanced and embracing the technology, I wasn't going to be able to get all of that information. Now, why is it that they are not recovering enough? They are not recovering from their injuries. They are not ready to compete the next day. They are not ready to lose the weight and rest and all of that while they are sleeping because they are thinking, coach will never find out. It's easy. Bring your phone, bring your watch, let's see how many hours. It tells me your deep sleep, your REM sleep when you are sleeping, your time when you are awake. You know, so... And I have evidence because they'll say, coach, when I was, they even forget you were also a player yourself, you know, all these things. So as women, we are the first ones that buy these technology gadgets and everything. We are embracing all of that, whereas, you know, gender inequality puts us aside and says they don't know. For my kids, a boy and a girl, I'll buy my boy a PlayStation with technology and all of that. My daughter, I buy her a doll that just says, Mommy, I'm hungry. That's it. So we have to embrace it even further into our households and go further with it. So yes, we have the ability as humanity to evolve and embrace TI.
And I love how you've made it so practical.
Yeah.
Because the practicality takes away the intimidation. Then we get to start going, oh, hang on a second, this thing is not up there. This thing is in my daily experience of how I interact with people. But something also that is, and just before I go to the next question, please, if you do have a question for our panelists, please just address it on Slido. Take a scan with your device, and you've got your QR code there, and then we'll just have it alongside there. And those that are operating Slido, in just a moment, we will be facilitating the questions. May I just also request we just make the font a little bit bigger? I do wear glasses. Don't be fooled by the no glasses. There are contact lenses around here. So thank you so much. Let's just embrace that. But also, Ms. Putu, when you're talking here about practicality, we also have to look at the practicality of data. Data has now become currency. In fact, it is the currency. But oftentimes, we do not necessarily understand how is it that we get to leverage off this currency. And more than anything else, how to operate the currency with integrity and still upholding our values. So when you're taking a look at the data accumulation and the data being currency, how do we do so with integrity and building on what was even shared by the advocate around how we don't even have legislation for AI as yet, and yet here we are gathering currency in that respect. So how do we reconcile that?
Well, I think one of the things that I've been very happy about, we deal a lot with the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, and there's a lot of legislation that governs the work that we do in technology. It's probably actually one of the reasons why we went through the process that we went through last year with the public. But anyway, so we, and so data privacy is critical. And we respect data privacy. We use data, obviously, as all of us do, but ensuring that there's data privacy is something that's crucial. And so that is something that we focus on a lot. Legislation, yes, there are areas where we don't have enough legislation, particularly in some of the departments. But as I say, if you look at DCDT, the Department of Communications, and the Department of Technology, as well as DTIC, they certainly have quite a bit of technology in place. And we are all in the focus on the process of ensuring that we all are complying with that. We have a number of foreign firms that are here in South Africa. Now, obviously, for us as a South African organization, Take a Lot is a business that was started right here as a startup. And today is a business that is able to provide access to employment to over 30,000 people. But anyway, the issue is that with us having technologies that are coming into South Africa, and it's been wonderful to see organizations such as Amazon and others coming into South Africa, investing and employing South Africans and all of that. But we do also have other brands, which I won't name, which are not doing that, which have a big presence. And it's important that for every brand that is available on our platforms, on different platforms, when they come into South Africa, they need to comply to local laws. They need to employ South Africans. Yeah. They need to be willing to do all the things that govern South African businesses. And sometimes with a number of international organizations, some organizations can find a way to skip a way through. But I'm thankful of the fact that our government is finding ways to deal with some of those issues. And our public protector, maybe, I'm not sure if it's gotten there yet, but so these are issues that are being dealt with. We're a young market. The intelligent age is still young on our shores, but we want to make sure that we develop that to the extent that we need to, because if we as a country, the G20 is going to be handing over to the United States of America, which is very much a country that has AI-first companies, a number of AI-first companies. We need to make sure that we are a part of that conversation and that our documents don't just get dumped. We need to be seen as useful. And so, skilling is critical as well.
Yeah. And you're speaking about skilling. One thing is leaving the younger generation in a space where they are fully equipped to deal with whatever it is that is coming. And let me speak to you when it comes to upskilling. We were having a conversation just before we walked into the auditorium around how I truly believe babies nowadays are born with laptops. So when you come out of your mom's womb, you're born with a laptop and a phone, and that's your life, right? But when you're looking at, for example, young people in universities, what we're struggling right now is the issue around plagiarism as a result of people using AI to plagiarize work. Juxtapose this to, for example, young people that are looking to be upskilled, where they're saying, okay, but skill me in data analytics, skill me in artificial intelligence. How are we faring in being able to be ahead of the curve with those skills that our young people in South Africa are able to compete at an international level and still be considered for the job above somebody who is living in Amsterdam? Because hey, the digital nomads are here, they're in Cape Town. They're in Cape Town. And those are many young people.
I think we need to be honest about, first of all, where we are as a country. Realistically, South Africa is juggling first and third world status. And most of what has contributed to that is the lack of sustainable development. And so while I hear you about needing to upskill our youth, especially the upcoming market who are now in the 8th grade going now into university, needing to find new careers before they start university in 5 years' time, I think we still need to address developmental issues, because there are quite a number of people, as Queen spoke earlier, who are still grappling with first, second, and third industrial revolution outcomes. And so while it's necessary to upskill them, we need to develop some kind of bedrock for them. And I'm grateful for foundations like the Motsepe Foundation, who is actually going into areas in rural townships and so forth across the country to bring us back into the conversation so that it's an inclusive growth. I want to add to your question again and highlight some of the values of the intelligent age, which include collaboration across boundaries. So while countries in the global north may have advanced in skills and are further ahead than what we are, we can still somehow find ways to collaborate with them and make sure that our girls, who ironically I just learned statistically, the female population has a greater access to telephones or cell phones rather than our male counterparts. So developmentally, we're already in good stead. But how do we then use that access to cell phones and data to make sure that skilling is available, not necessarily in a formal education system, because again, not a lot of girls can afford to go to school, but we can share our skills and create platforms where they can gain access to careers of the future that are really at our doorstep.
I'm going to give an opportunity for our guests to also ask you some questions, ladies, if you will. And the first one is coming in from Anonymous, saying that I studied computer science, but in my undergraduate years, I felt uncomfortable in this space as though I don't belong. And that speaks significantly to imposter syndrome. Since entering the workforce, I pivoted my career to an industry that was more inclusive. What can women who are in these spaces with these skills do to make it more inclusive? Queen Langa, can I just start off with you with that question?
Okay, thank you so much, Faith. There's one thing I believe in. You need to start with yourself before even trying to look at other women in those spaces. I believe you need to first not necessarily motivate yourself, but you need to stand up for yourself and know exactly what you want, know that you belong in that space. So I strongly believe that you need to start with working with yourself before you even look at other people in those industries. That way it will make it easier, because if you don't work on yourself first, they might try and make it more for you to be able to understand the space. But if you didn't work on yourself first, then it doesn't make any difference. You won't receive it the way that they are giving it out to you. So I strongly believe that you need to start with yourself and just know that you belong in that space, stand up for yourself, and that's it.
I do see the count, and I also do not want to be the one that stands between everybody and lunch. Otherwise, I will be headhunted, and I am still trying to keep my life. So what I'm going to request, but maybe before, because we've got about a minute left, very quickly, what are the potential challenges of human-AI collaboration? Sipho, let me start off with you, and maybe Puti can add on to that, the dangers or the potential challenges to human-AI collaboration.
I think Dr. Puti did mention it to say, we must not rely completely on that. We need to be able to understand what needs AI, what doesn't. I still have a notebook where I write physically, because there you can scratch, do all of that, and then put it into technology to save, because that is for safekeeping, so that we don't burn all the trees with making books, but we keep all of that. And when you collaborate, it means both of us are involved in the decision making. The both of us are involved in the motion in, if I may put it that way. We are involved in making sure that the results that has to come, the process that has to go into it, we are involved in that. It's not solely on AI, or it's not solely on computer, because AI, it might be more accurate. There's a human error that comes into it, but nalama robot malfunction at times. So we need to have that balance.
I love what you said, Puti.
Yeah. So the dangers to human AI collaboration. The dangers, I think, were clearly set out by our public protector with respect to issues of data privacy, not respecting platforms and access to information about people. So there is a lot of danger that can happen with respect to the usage of AI. But when used correctly, which is what many of us aim to do, it can also do a lot of good. And so what I would ask is that we all focus on ensuring that those of us who don't have STEM skills, or at least, in fact, it's STEAM skills now, because it's no longer just science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but it is also arts.
Yeah.
So STEAM subjects, let's make sure that we are focused on these STEAM subjects, because all of them will make sure that we can produce the right products that we need to produce from the use of AI.
Sure. Ladies, I do appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you very much for your insights. Thank you for sharing how is it that we can be included. And to echo what has always been said, nothing about us without us. And I'm hoping that we're able to internalize that and land that this afternoon. You've got so much that is in store for you as well, ladies. Won't you please give them a round of applause, our panelists this afternoon, for shedding some light on the importance of artificial intelligence and how do we become intelligent in that intelligent age. Thank you so much.